Good morning and welcome to Quest Today here on Quest Television and Quest 93.1 FM. Today is the second day in the month of January in the year 2024, and I hope it's not a little bit too late for me to say Happy New Year. Well, right now it is time for us to head straight into the papers and see what the headlines have for us. My name is still Orikemi Mariam, and with that being said, let's head straight into the newspaper review here on Quest Today. Making a return back to the studios this morning are 5 newspapers. We have the Guardian newspaper, we have the Nation newspaper, the Punch newspaper made a return as well, the Daily Sun, and of course, did I mention the Punch? Okay, Daily Sun, the Punch, the Vanguard, the Nation, and as well the Guardian. But yes, in as much as this is the second day in the month of January, I am not alone in the studio. You know, he will always be here, and hopefully with this new year, some new sort of promotion in terms of being ordained and all of that. But I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to introduce my guest this morning in the studio, and that is Comrade Efe Odomo, looking indeed like a happy new year. Good morning and welcome.
Oh, yes, it's a great happy new year. And we are here again, back to the table to do what you, Miriam, knows how to do best.
Yes, we have come here to do what it's time for us to do what we were here to do. And with that being said, let's go straight into the papers. The first paper for review this morning will be the Nation newspaper. On the front page of the Nation newspaper this morning, the major headline reads, "Perform on budget or get sacked. President warns." We have a couple of writers to that. It says there's no room for poor performance, MDAs to provide monthly budget performance report, and also 28.78 trillion naira 2024 Appropriation Act to run concurrently with 2023 extra budget. Yes, you can get all details on this on page 4 of the Nation. But let's move up over the masthead. A major headline that says analysts project average naira exchange of 919 naira per dollar. More details on that on page 7. Well, we're going to move to page 6 of the Nation. It says 163,878 travelers benefit from transportation fare rebate in 10 days. Well, I'm not sure if you've benefited from this, but if you have, I'm sure you would say so.
You'll have known if I have benefited. At least it will have provided it to your end.
All right. Well, more details on that on page 6 and also page 5 of the Nation. Why my detractors are unrelenting, and this is a statement from Fubara. Quite an interesting. This saga actually found its way into the new year, but it is what it is. Like I said, get that more details on that on page 5, and also Nova Merchants to begin commercial banking. More details on that on page 7. Plateau killings, a genocide, is making it into the front page of the Nation as well, but more details on that on page 5. And also Dangote refinery gets 4th crude consignments. You can read more on that on page 7. PDP and Labour Party in battle over opposition role. The writer that says Labour Party lacks basis to claim top spot, but who's saying this and what it's all about? You can get more details on that on page 4 of the Nation. Moving down below, we have governors and cleric raise hope in New Year's messages. You can get more details on that on page 25. And the First Lady visits Zach Orji. Yes, if you've been following this story in the social media space, he's been ill for a while. Well, she has done justice by visiting him. But more details on that on page 29 of the Nation newspaper. And well, that's much we can take on the front page of the Nation. The Guardian newspaper is up next for review. On the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning, deficits and execution concerns over expanded 28.8 trillion naira budget is making it into the front page, and that is the leading story there. But you can get more details on that on page 6. Moving on, federal government not committed to agreements with Labour, NLC claims. More details on that on page 15. Nigerian startups borrow $450 million in 10 years as equity funding falters. It's also making it into the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning. More details on that on business page 15. On the Ondo polls, it says Ayedatiwa warns politicians against acts of violence and calumny. You can read more on that on page 7. And also moving down below on page 8, we have New Year, 44 inmate gets amnesty in Taraba and Nasarawa.
That's a nice one.
Yeah, that's a nice one indeed. Like I said, you can read more details on that on page 8. Hira queries promotion of generals amid insecurity. I'm sure Comrade is. I believe Comrade is on the. You are in league. With the Hira. But I'm not going to say more on that right now. I'm going to move away from that. More details on that on page 29. And also PDP and others fault Tinubu's pledges and demand concrete actions against hardship. You can read more on that story on page 6. Fubara vows to retain Rivers governorship mandate is making it to page 3. And also Monarch writes Tinubu over 3,050 megawatts Mambila hydropower dispute. You can read more on that on page 28. And that's much you can take on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. The next paper for review is The Punch. On the front page of The Punch, the major headline reads, Tinubu New Year broadcast. APC defends federal government as Labour warns against failed promises. The writer there says PDP tagged speech harvest of deceit. NLC and TUC say Nigerians tired of failed promises. APC lampoons PDP, Labour Party, and urges Nigerians to disregard mischievous opposition. You can read all of that on page 2. Moving above the masthead, federal government insists on electricity subsidy amid tariff review. You can get more details on that on page 20. Dangote refinery gets fresh 1 million crude barrels. It's making it to page 13. And Christmas Eve massacre, not farmer-herder conflict, governor insists. More details on that on page 17. JACMA, UK stops Nigerian students and others from bringing dependents. It's making it to page 7. But on page 4 and 5 of The Punch, it's a puncher. Hoodlums killed Lagos police officer in Adamawa. Quite a sad one there indeed. But moving away from that, Lagos to begin Lekki Airport 2024, says the commissioner. More details on that on page 8. And for a picture of the day, we can see headline there, which states President signs budget as National Assembly raises lawmakers' allocation to 344 billion naira. You can read more on that on page 19 of the Punch newspaper. And that's much we can take on the front page of the Punch. The next paper is the Daily Sun. On the front page of the Daily Sun newspaper, Pope wades into plateau attacks. Governor declares 1 week mourning. The writer there says a Catholic pontiff describes killing in Nigeria harrowing and mounts prayer for country. Also killings, reminder of fragile peace in country, says Khan. 400 killed from April to December, says Governor Mufwang. More details on this on page 4 and 5. Right beside the masthead, apply civil war strategy on terrorists. Anglican bishop tells federal government. You can read more of that on page 5. But moving on, we have Dangote refinery receives 1 million barrels of crude. It's making it to page 2. And also, Labour Party now Nigeria's main opposition party, says OB. You can read more of that on page 26. Moving to page 29 of the Daily Sun, it says Igbo lawyers that women demand Kanu's release. And also, Federal First Lady Remi Tinubu supports efforts to separate conjoined twins in National Hospital. Welcomes first baby of the year in the Federal Capital Territory. You can read more of that on page 27. IPOP tackles Tinubu and Shetima over insecurity in Southeast. Is making it to page 29. But still there on page 29 of the Daily Sun, it says NFITF to expand social security net in 2024. High expectations as Tinubu signs 2024 budget into law. The writer there says President's New Year speech admission of failure, says PDP and the Labour Party. You can read more of that on page 6. And that's what you can take on the front page of the Daily Sun. The final paper for review this morning is the Vanguard. The major headline on the Vanguard newspaper this morning is talking about the plateau attacks. As it says, groups slam COAS on why Nigerians can't bear arms. We have a lot of writers that will take a few. It says MBF, Afenifere, JNI, Pandef, KIP. Nigerians should be allowed arms to defend themselves, says the MBF. Says embargo amounts to conspiracy against the people. Insists it's time Nigerians are given access to higher grades of arms. And also Nigerians have rights to defend themselves, says Afenifere. People can defend themselves where government fails to defend them, says Pandef. If the army can't defend people, should they allow themselves killed, says the JNI, and allowing Nigerians to bear firearms, recipe for disaster, says the CAN. Well, more details on this on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. I'm sure this is quite an interesting one up for debate. Comrade, I'm sure you react to this later on.
Yeah.
But moving away from that, in Plateau, God free Nigeria from this horror, says Pope Francis. You can read more on that on page 9. And also Tinubu signs 2024 budget of 28.78 trillion naira into law. The writer then says there's justification for 1.28 trillion increase in budget, says Akpabio. More details on this on page 9 and page 8 of the Vanguard. Moving on, we have 3,050 megawatts. Emir asks Tinubu to wade into Mambila power dispute. You can read more of that on page 12. Nigeria too important to be left in the hands of transactional politicians, says Peter Obi. You can read more on that on page 11. 2024, APC mom as PDP and Labour Party dismissed Tinubu's address as hollow. More details on that on page 6. And also, the truth about Biafra and its so-called indigenous people. A reader's right to respond is a headline there on the front page of the Vanguard. When you read more on that, you can go to page 27. But now for some comic relief with all the headlines we've been having, or rather we've been taking this morning. The Mr. and Mrs. column on the front page of the Vanguard. And then Mr. is speaking because, men like to go first these days. It says, each time I look at you, I congratulate myself for such a good catch. And then Mrs. replies and says, who do you think you are? And then Mr. replies and says, the champ.
The champion.
Yes, and that's what we can take on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. And yes, this morning we took the headlines on the front pages of 5 dailies. Yes, the Guardian, the Nation, the Vanguard, the Daily Sun, as well as the Punch newspaper. But it is now time for me to open the phone line so you could call into the show and have your say regarding the headlines. The numbers have not changed. They are still the same: 081 88 931 and 08022 931 931. Do want to state your name, your location, and then have your say. And then do not forget to turn on the volume of your TV or radio set so we do not have any sort of echo or bounce back in terms of communication. All right, with that being said, let's take these calls. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Marian.
Good morning.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well.
I want to quickly react to the newspaper headline that says...
Oh, your name and location first, please.
My name is Tony Bucci, calling from Kwale.
Yes, Mr. Tony Bucci, welcome and Happy New Year. Please have your say.
Okay. The group pressuring the federal government for Nigerians to carry arms.
Yes.
To defend themselves. It is high time. The Plateau issue, the saga that besieged Plateau, the number of persons killed will not have amounted to that if they were said defensive. The obvious fact is that
hello?
And the police in sporadic response, quick response, in order to save lives from being wasted. Again, Labour Party claiming as ruling opposition party, I think it's coming to that. They are reacting very well. I like what the Labour Party is doing to see to the plight of the common man. PDP is quite facing us gradually. As people at the campaign, I don't know, they should put their house together and come as a force to oppose. Thank you. That is my
Thank you very much, Mr. Tony Bucci. But yes, we're still taking calls here on the newspaper review. And the numbers are still 081 88 931 and 08022 931 931. Hello, good morning.
Morning, Quest FM.
Good morning, welcome and Happy New Year. Your name and your location, please.
Okay, this is Emmanuel calling from Mugeli.
All right, please have your say.
According to the governor of Plateau State, this is not farmers' elders clashes, but massacre. And that is what it is. There has never been any farmers' elders clashes. Because when you say farmers' elders clashes, that means the farmer is attacking, the elders are attacking. But there has always been the herders, the Fulani cattle herders, that has always been killing, without the farmers doing anything. So there has not been any farmers' elders clashes right from the beginning. All parts of the country, it has always been the Fulani killing. So it's high time we have state police We should have state police in this country to protect the vulnerable. Because you can imagine over 200 people being killed, both men, women, children. If they are armed or there's a state police in Plateau State, that would not have happened. As I'm talking to you right now, the security agency know where those Fulani are in Plateau State, where they are camping to carry all this attack, all this genocidal attack. But they don't do anything. But if there is state police in Plateau State, which are manned by individuals of Plateau State, they will go after the Fulani elders. So please, we need state police in this country.
All right, thank you very much. We have to give room to others to be able to call into the show. And also, let me just use this opportunity to say, I'm not quite sure it's a particular sect of people, who are committing these crimes. And so we will not actually call names or point fingers until we get full details on who the terrorists are. But with that being said, let's take more calls. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, man.
Yes, good morning and welcome.
Happy New Year to you, man. This is Henry from Oxford.
Yes, Mr. Henry, welcome to the show. Happy New Year to you. Please have your say.
PDP advises Tinubu to take more action to reduce hardship. Then again, Tinubu's speech, a mission of failure. Now, the truth is that, yes, as a president, you have to have process for the people. But the truth is that the actions are not really effective enough. It's a lot of hardship in this country. Just that we are very close. What is happening now? We travel from some countries, you see protests and all over the place. So you should, this time around, it promised that it's going to improve on a hectare, like 1.5 hectares of land for agriculture. He took up the cement contract with the Germany to produce more light. And of course, the outcoming of the Dangote refinery, so please you should be more proactive. But then finally, Nigeria have rights to defend themselves. So just killing, cook slam theory on why Nigeria can't get arms. You see that, yes, people are talking of, but we know we talk of structure. It's not just because we want to share money. There's an element of this, that is policing too. They should look into that too. And then again, if really they see that they cannot do if they think they cannot really tackle terrorists, they should look into that so that people should arm at least if they should be lanced, because people cannot be killed, living there and dead. They have no right to carry up, but they are killing people. People cannot carry gas, so they should look into this one too. And the thing again, state police should look into. Have a good day, man. All
right, thank you very much. Well, at this point, let's just put a hold to the calls and come over to Comrade before we exhaust the time for the newspaper review here on Quest today. Comrade, well, you've heard the voice of the people, you've heard them speak on some of the headlines, but one that seems to have taken center stage this morning is talking about the Plateau attacks. And yes, people have come out, different groups have come out to say, let us bear arms to protect ourselves. This is not, we know the wildfire of insecurity has, spread in the country. And at this point, it seems as though those that are meant to protect us, lives and properties, are not being able to fulfill that duty. What's your take on this, despite the fact that it can have come out to say that that is a wrong step in the wrong direction? What do you have to say to this?
Defend yourself is a wrong step in the wrong direction? I don't know why we take sides unnecessarily. Look, what is the meaning of police? Police, P-O-L-I-C-E, protection of life in case of emergency. Now the police have failed to do their job. The military has failed to do their job. The other paramilitary have failed to do their job. Then somebody is saying defend yourself and somebody is saying that it's a wrong approach. How? Who wants to seek out his neck to be cut off? I don't think even a madman will not even allow that. That this is my neck, remove the head and I go back with my neck.
Okay, but let's look at it from, it's of course you're supposed to defend yourself,
exactly.
Defend your life, but let's look at this angle let's look at the angle of the can here. It says allowing Nigerians to bear firearms is a recipe for disaster, because right now
what is happening in Plateau now? What is happening in Plateau now? Is it not a disaster? What can be more of a disaster than what is happening in Plateau? When I was still in Lagos, I lived in the suburb area, the Ajegula area. This type of things was happening. Though they were not, it was robbery. Every night they must attack. And when they're attacking you, they will be singing and dancing. That's the robbers. Until the whole community came together and said, look, any day you hear chief, only if you don't come out, when they have left, they will come and catch you and treat you the way they have treated those armed robbers. Since that day, the robbery stopped. That was when they came, they were almost 24 when they were counted near the federal government press boundary. Everybody came out of their houses. The robbers with their guns and everything ran away. They caught all. None of them escaped. They caught all, and everybody was given jungle justice. That put an end to it. Now you kill every day. You don't even kill 2. You don't kill 3. You start from 200 and above. Wiping off a whole generation. Wiping off a whole race. And you're telling me that to you to defend yourself is a crime? What type of crime is that? What type of Christianity are you actually practicing? We are causing more of a problem to the country than the religion itself. In the Bible, the Christians they're not defend themselves. What is Israel doing now? Are the Israelis not defending themselves? Why did they not say, oh, cool, Christ came from our lineage, therefore we will not fight. Christ will come and fight for us. Christ has finished his job and he has gone. Let us do what we should do. The major job of every government is security. Before any other thing will come up. Now, if you fail in your duty, the next thing, if this happens in the foreign land, do you think this government will remain in power? They will have submitted their resignation letter.
But comrade, this is quite a huge Pandora box right now. There's a lot of this, and we don't have enough time to be able to go into this directly, and dissect.
And again, too, don't forget.
Properly.
When Jonathan was in power, this same set of people in office now were the people calling for his resignation because we cannot take care of the security of the country.
Well, like I said, this topic actually suits the big story, don't you think so?
I think so, but again, we have brought it up too, so we have to leave it a little more.
Well, currently we have time. I even wanted to take more calls, but we didn't have time right now because we have to allow the next come in. But don't worry, we will discuss this further on. Thank you very much for coming on air with me today. I do look forward to having you tomorrow.
As I'm going, I'll be watching my back. I don't want anybody to move my head and leave my body on the road.
Well, comrade, you're still looking too good for that. All right, thank you very much, everyone, for keeping it real here on the Newspaper Review on Quest today. Do not forget this edition was sponsored by the Vanguard newspaper. But from my side, from my end, we have to go because we have to allow the next come in. Thank you very much for keeping it real. From myself and from Comrade Domon, have yourself a lovely day and Happy New Year once again.